everyone, and welcome to this week's video. This week I'm going to be talking about paper dolls. Now, paper dolls are very popular in the art industry and you can see them around quite a few places. There are a few variations of paper dolls, but the ones I'm going to be talking about today are articulated paper dolls and little art doll paper dolls, which are known for taking pictures of. But first off, we're going to talk about ball jointed paper dolls. These are sort of like 2D illustrated dolls that have articulated joints so that you can move them around and pose them like so. As you can see, Freya is already very poseable here, and these are fairly popular and are quite actually easy to make. So I'm going to be showing you how I made this. So the first thing that you do need, of course, is your drawing tools. Now, you don't have to do this digitally. I just chose to do it digitally, and digitally I'm using an iPad Pro 9.7 inch with an Apple Generation First pencil. I'm also using these. Now, these are known as like drawing pins or split pins, depending on whereabouts you are from. We call them paper fasteners here up in the UK, and they're essentially, I'll show you what they look like. They're like these pinheads like this, and on the underneath they split like this. This allows the ball joint of the actual doll to move around. So these are really interesting to use and play around. Of course, you are going to need a pair of scissors as well, or if you wanted to, a Stanley knife. So let me show you into the art portion of me actually drawing this paper doll. So the first thing I'm doing while working on this is working on my quick model of what I wanted to do. So you can see I've already planned where each dot is going to go, where I know each joint is going to be. This allows me, when I am printing these, to understand exactly where the actual paper clip or the pin clip is going to go. Now, the ones I've got are fairly big pin clips. You can get smaller, but this is just something that was readily available to me at my local stationery store. So I was trying to counter that in because I knew how big it was going to print and making sure I knew exactly what I was doing. So I wanted to create a base model, and by creating a base model I wanted Freya's basic under outfit that she would wear, which is basically a leggings and a cropped top, and I just basically flipped everything. This made life a little bit easier. And then actually trying to create her outfit, what I wanted to do was create her official original outfit, but knowing that it would have bend in the sleeves, I created a different arm set so that she would be able to have the sleeves up on her arms as well. The most difficult part actually was trying to work out like where her jewelry would go, just because I knew that certain areas would have to be cut out. And then knowing that I wanted to do different outfits, so that if we wanted to change up the doll, we could totally do that as well. So you've got her casual traveling outfit, her comfy attire, her regular attire, and her fancy attire. And you'll see as well that I'm creating like these little flaps on the clothing. This is so that when they're put in the doll, these flaps can go either side of the actual doll itself and sit very comfortably. Now, I actually looked at a lot of current paper dolls and took inspiration from them, so you can see that there's a lot of like me trying to take inspirations. So now that we've actually done these and printed them out, I'm going to show you how I actually assemble them. But the first thing that you need to do is cut them out. So there is a slight warning for scissors here, because I know some people don't like seeing scissors. You can use scissors, an X-Acto knife, or if you're extra fancy, not unlike me, you can use a silhouette cutter or a Cricut. All you have to do is try and cut as close to the lines as possible. Now, this does help if you make your lines slightly thicker. This will mean that there's less room for error when it comes to actually cutting them out. Or if you like it, you can actually leave a slight white outline. I know some people actually prefer this look, so they do leave a slight white outline. So here I'm just cutting as close as I physically can to the object itself, leaving as little white area as possible. There's going to be some areas that I'm actually not going to be able to reach with scissors, so I would have to go in there with like an X-Acto knife or a Stanley knife or a craft knife, just to be able to get there slightly closer. But instead of you having to watch me cut out every single piece, I'm just going to show you how I did the leggy. Just one hot leggy, just one thigh. There's certain areas that I could definitely improve upon in the future, and this was just a really fun project. Quick transition mode. Glorious. Here we are, our eldritch horror, our spider looking monster right now. I wanted to do extra hands because I wasn't actually quite sure what kind of hands I wanted on the character, and I've already pre-done the sleeves. Because we already have a model with the arms bare, I thought it'd be really good to actually have this particular model with the arms with the sleeves on, just to show you how like the sleeves actually do match all the outfits, because I purposely did it that way, as well as making sure that you can see a model with arms and without arms. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to punch holes in each corner. Now this can actually be done fairly easily if you have a hole punch thing, but you're going to have to make sure that your hole punch is small enough that the pin can fit through, but not too big that the pin will slip through entirely. I don't have a hole punch that is small enough for this, so I used another method. I basically stabbed through with a pen using a rubber underneath so it didn't actually damage my table, and then pushed through slightly with a pencil just to make that hole a little bit bigger. Is it rudimentary? Absolutely. Are there fancier ways of doing this? Absolutely. But when you've got limited tools at your disposal, you make do with what you've got. You know, there's no point in buying a product if you can make do with what you've already got. And I didn't see the point in buying a tiny hole punch just for this project. I bought these pins for this project, and that is as much as I could spend on this at this time. But this is a really fun and simple project that anyone can work on. And of course, if you are a Patreon, this printout of these Mushroom Hunter dolls is available to you as well. Just means that you'll be able to download it, print it, and cut it out and make your own paper doll. So for these split pins, these ones are fairly big. You can actually get ones that are smaller. So all you do is just simply slip it through the hole there, making sure it can turn by twisting it around. This will also make your hole slightly bigger if you've made it too small. If you've made it too small, just go back and I would say slightly widen it again with like a pencil, or try and widen it as much as you can. And the back here, you can see that these pins are actually slightly too big. So what I do to counteract that is I fold them over again. This actually tightens the pinhole, so just be very careful, because this will mean that sometimes that the joint won't move, so you have to like sort of play around with it. It's a bit of trial and error, but overall it's really fun to do. Like, I honestly was really happy with the results after I'd done all this, because I was not expecting it to turn out as good as it did. But of course, you don't have to do this digitally, you can do this traditionally as well. It's best to try and get a paper which is around about 200 GSM thickness or higher, because this will make your doll sturdy. It means it will last longer. When you use like a lighter paper or a thinner paper, it is going to struggle. This actually worked out really well, because the printing paper that I used is 220 GSM, which meant that it barely ripped. I did have one casualty with a hand, but that's okay because I printed spares. But it's one of those, like, you've got to be careful through a bit of trial and error. Make sure that your hole isn't too close to the edge of the paper, but once you've tried it a few times, it is awfully fun, and I encourage anyone to do this with their characters. So now we've put the joints on, I'm going to show you how the outfits attach. You remember that I said that we need these little white flaps. All you need to do is just slightly bend them over the clothing like so, and I've got some conveniently made sections for it to go to, and just clip it on like so. This means that you can actually change the outfits of the paper doll. You don't have to do this. This is something extra that I really wanted to do, because I wanted to be able to interchange the outfits on this character. Freya tends to be in her typical top and skirt with the legging styles, so I wanted to give her a few different options so that she could play around. And the sleeves surprisingly do work with her. I was actually worried at first that they weren't going to work with every outfit, but they did, and I was really happy about that. So we have her more formal travelling attire, her formal outfit, just her shirt without the skirt, because you know sometimes a lady doesn't always want to wear a big floofy skirt, so that's what the shirt looks like without the skirt. And then of course the traditional Freya outfit, which is the white billowy shirt with the belt, her necklace and her skirt. Now you could really go one further if you wanted to and articulate each area. I chose to not articulate the head separately from the rest of the body. You can do that, but because my pins were quite large, I didn't want like a massive gold center in the middle of that. But you could totally do that. Say if your character was wearing a choker, you could totally have the pin in the center there to make it look like a little gold piece. You could even make it look like a bell on your character, you know. It's really interesting to try and utilize these pins, and you can color them as well, which means you can make them look a little more seamless in your character. So here we have the two posable paper dolls. Now, what about the non-posable paper dolls? They're a lot more simpler to do, and I'm going to show you how I do them. So all you're going to need is a piece of paper, and I like to draw chibi versions of characters to do these sort of paper dolls. So you're just going to sketch out your character, ink it and colour it, and then cut it out. That's it. It's that simple. I like to try and do interactive poses when it comes to paper dolls, so that when you are posing them for pictures, which are going to come later, which I'm really excited to show you, it gives your character something to interact with. Now I actually did two, but you can do as many as you need to tell a sort of story with your character. This is a really fun way to sort of like try something different and something that you would not normally do. I'm just going to speed up this process because you've seen me ink and color plenty of times. You don't need like a 5-minute rendition of me inking and coloring, but essentially I created two poses for the character. A sort of pose of where Freya is sort of leaning and looking, and then one where she's like all surprised, as if like, hey, I've discovered something. So one looking and one discovering. This meant that when I was taking pictures and I was trying to sort of like choose certain poses and certain areas, it meant it was a lot of fun. I probably spent about I probably spent like a good like hour like finding areas to like take pictures in, and I'm really lucky that I live quite next to quite a woody area, so I was really able to play around with that. Since I'm going with a chibi shape, I try and use very simple colouring. I don't want to overshade it, I don't want to overdo it, but you can decide on how you want to do that yourself. This is probably the easiest and simplest way to create a paper doll, and yet again this would be really fun for a project for anyone to work on, and I highly recommend it anyone to do. You know, create your paper character and take pictures with them. It's a really fun interactive way to be able to take your art and the outside world and merge them together. You could have like maybe little dragons interacting with your house, or maybe your character is walking through the woods and discovering something. The possibilities of these are endless, and they are so much fun to do. So let's show you a photo shoot. I am really lucky that we still have some mushrooms that are in season. I'm really gutted I actually didn't start this project more at the end of October, because we had so many more mushrooms available. We had these gorgeous massive ones which would have been perfect, but unfortunately someone had destroyed them by the time I got to them, so I was absolutely upset with that. But I tried to take a few like sort of like fun silly photos, and I'm really happy with how they came out. Let me know in the comments section down below which one is your favorite, and if you had a paper doll, what would you have it doing? Maybe we should do some tea dragon ones where they're interacting with like the tea sets that I've got. That would be really, really fun. But I don't know, I just find this a really fun project for anyone to try out, and I thought it'd be really fun to sort of share like my thoughts and my ideas and progress and all that. And that comes to the end of the little photo shoot that I did. I really hope that you have enjoyed this and you've learnt something, maybe found a new project to work on. And if you do, please tag me in them. I love seeing people's progress and people's work. And speaking of tagging, here is some of your amazing work that you have tagged me in. If you want to tag me in your work, you can either use Instagram, Twitter, or the Discord, and use the hashtag StayCreativeWithSophiralou to share your work. I hope you all have a wonderful day, keep drawing, and stay creative.